So one of the questions, for example, I get from my team leaders is like, all right, when do I have to scale, or what's the first step, what's the second step, what's the third step when it comes to like building a team, right? And like you said, look, I started a team because of necessity. It's exactly the same thing that happened to me as well. It was out of necessity. I was generating a bunch of buyer leads. I did not really enjoy working buyer leads. My business was always listing heavy. So I had to get agents on board. But first, I had an assistant. I had an admin.
Yep.
Now, and that's exactly what I tell my agents as well. It's like, hey, man, you got to get an admin first. You got to have somebody who's going to be kind of like your buffer between the agents and you, and kind of offset a lot of responsibilities, especially on the back end, the back office and operation stuff. I mean, what are your thoughts as far as that goes? Is this something that you kind of like preach as well? Like you start with an assistant first and then bring on the agents, or just kind of bring on the agents because you got so much business coming in?
Dude, I have never, luckily I did it right. But again, I had some expertise in building teams in a different industry. Plus I had a great mentor that already had one of the top teams in the country. So was able to, give me the roadmap to scaling this stuff. But I've yet to meet a team leader or brokerage owner that hired an agent before admin, before they built out, at least having one rockstar admin in place that didn't learn to regret it. Because if you start bringing on agents and you don't have the admin stuff dialed, then you are going to become the admin. Somebody's going to have to do it,
right?
And it's going to massively bog down your production. So my big belief in my framework is, like number one, you dial in client acquisition strategy, because if you don't have that, you're never going to be a successful team leader or even brokerage owner. Because even if you're not in production, like, okay, as a brokerage owner, it's our job to be able to lead our agents from getting where they're at to where they want to go in the quickest, most effective, efficient time. So if you don't have the expertise and the knowledge of how to transfer that knowledge to them and give them the roadmap, like you're going to experience a lot of resistance. So, client acquisition strategy, get you to a capacity. Now, for most agents, that's usually going to be around 4 a month. Everybody's got different capacities. Like, dude, I got one coaching client up in Edmonton who's going to be speaking at the event with me next week that you're speaking at. And he does like 120 units a year himself. No admin, no assistants. So some people are just freaks like him that have crazy capacities. Mine was 48. And for most, I find it's usually around 4 deals a month, where it gets to the point where it's difficult to keep everything together without things slipping through the cracks. Okay, then you plug in that rockstar admin. It's going to take you to that next capacity. But then while you're going through all of that, making sure that you refine and get dialed in your systems and processes. Because then if you don't, like, I don't care how good somebody is that you recruit on or bring on, if they don't have great systems and process to plug into, they can never show you their greatness.
Yeah, I remember my second year, I closed 35 transactions, and I was doing all the paperwork myself. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? Why am I doing stuff? At 8 o'clock in the evening, I'm sitting there pushing out paperwork. Like I gotta get somebody else to do it. And the first admin that I hired was a wrong admin. I mean, she was a part-time admin, but her definition of part-time was 5 hours a week. Second admin, every single challenge that we experienced, or we had like an overbearing agent or needy client, she would get a little emotional about it. So I kind of wasted 2 months with her.
Yep.
Finally, the third one was the charm, and she basically took my business from 35 transactions to 75 transactions in my third year in business, right? But it was the investment of time, of energy, lots of doubting, like, is it really going to work? Am I going to find that rock star admin, right, for my business? And then also financial resources on top of that. I talked to the agents like, man, Alan, I don't have $4,000 or $5,000 to pay for an admin.
Yep.
Like, man, that's a huge commitment, because they're thinking they're going to be paying $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 for an admin. I was like, no, man, if you find somebody right, in the first 30 days to 60 days, you're going to be able to know if he or she's the right person for you.
Yep.
Right? You don't have to wait until you pay him 50, 60 grand a year.